You know that scene in Skyfall where James Bond is standing at Glen and everyone had the same reaction the first time they saw it? Where in Scotland is that? Bet you money you're looking at this scenery and going, where in Scotland is that? This is Loch Merkland. Welcome to the far north. Many people around the world dream of returning to the home of their ancestors, the British Isles. At the age of 45, I fulfilled a lifelong ambition and bought my dream home in the Scottish Highlands. My name's Jason, and I live in the far north of Scotland. This is my story. Welcome to the American Highlander. Good morning from the Scottish Highlands. We're here on the road to Durness, crossing the heart of Sutherland. It's a beautiful August day. It's about 18 degrees. It's about as perfect as it gets. And I'm not sure if the microphone can pick it up, but there's no noise. There's no noise. You know, some people ask, what's up here in the far north? This is what's up here. You either understand that or you don't. It's a lot of sightseeing to get to today. Let's get started. If you come up here, one of the things that you're going to say a lot is, oh my God, look at that. Every corner you turn. And if you live here, every day you're going to say, can you believe how lucky we are? So it still hasn't sunk in. This is Durness Beach. It's in the northwestern corner of Scotland. It's a really good spot to use as a base of operations for exploring this area. You've got Sandwood Bay, Cape Wrath, Smoo Cave. There's several attractions up here. So if you're driving the NC 500, you can't help but come through Durness, and I highly recommend exploring this area. It's currently about 19 degrees. It's a late August day. The ocean temperature, by the way, is 14 degrees, and I don't know if the camera can catch it, but earlier, right before we set up, there actually were some people down there in the water. Now, obviously it's a little cold, 14 degrees, but at this time of year, if you're feeling brave, you can do it. So, I love coming up here. It's stunning. The drive up here, and the scenery, and the ambiance, and the food. So let's go take a look around.
During our trip to Durness, we stopped at the Highland Scullery, which serves a range of burgers and loaded fries and occasionally seafood when it is available. We stopped here last time we came to Durness and I only had loaded fries, so this time I was looking forward to trying one of their burgers. Unfortunately for me, they had almost completely run out of food at 2 o'clock as they had been very busy and only had the loaded fries left, so that's what I went for. They came with crispy onions, chives and a homemade cheese sauce. The chips were fried to order, so this was super fresh, but I was still really hungry after. So I went and sought out cheese and toasted. My goodness, the smell as I approached this truck was just absolutely amazing. They sell a variety of different toasters such as chicken, cheese, pastrami, pizza, and drinks and homemade cake. They are also winners of the best quick bite on the NC 500. I went for the cheese and garlic toasty, which had this amazing smell as I carried it back to my seat. These are made to order, and as you can see, they look like proper comfort food, and they tasted absolutely delicious. The toast had a really lovely crunch. The cheese was super hot and stringy, and that small sprinkling of salt really enhanced the taste. However, there's only one way to truly see if this passes the comfort food test, and that's with the feedback of the expert of all things beige and fried. Not sure if you can lip read there, but that is high praise indeed. 10 out of 10.
I thought this structure in my backyard was a bird hide, but actually, I think I know what it is. It's a haggis hide. The guy at the Stag's Head Inn told me that if I stay concealed long enough, I might actually get a sighting of a rare left-footed haggis. I'm patient. Hey, I want to give a shout out to another local business. This is a clothing company in Durness called By Sea, By Land. And the owner, Ed, emailed me and said, hey, I've run this clothing company out of my house. I do all the design work myself. The printing and embroidery is done in Glasgow. Would you be willing to give me a free shout out? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Because if you're a local business, I have no issue whatsoever with giving you free publicity, because that's one of the primary functions of the channel, is to support local businesses. Now, you might be wondering why I'm actually holding the microphone. I don't normally do that. And it's because I want to show off the shirt that I'm wearing. This is a By Sea, By Land t-shirt. Just arrived in the mail. I'm wearing it right now for the first time, and I gotta tell you, it's actually really nice. By the way, I should point out, I do not require, if you're a local business, you don't have to send me stuff for me to promote you. Like, you can literally just ask me to give you a free shout out, and I'll totally give you a free shout out. Ed was kind enough to be like, hey man, do you want to, try some of this on? And so he sent a couple of medium-sized shirts for my wife, and sent me this, which is a double XL, as well as a couple of hoodies. When we get to the, or not hoodies, beanies. When we get to the winter time, I'll wear one of those. They're really, really cool. And so you don't have to send me stuff for me to give you a shout. But I want to acknowledge that yes, I did receive this, and it's very kind of him to send it. And I'm wearing it on camera because I actually genuinely like it. If I didn't like it, I'd be polite, but I wouldn't wear it on camera. So check it out. This is By Sea, By Land. And keep in mind, I'm a big boy. 6 feet tall, 18 stone. I'm carrying Jimmy Hoffa in my gut here. So any shirt that actually makes me look halfway presentable, I'm on board with. So By Sea, By Land. Go check them out. I think you'll like their designs. I certainly do. Behind me is one of my favorite hidden gems here in the Highlands. Welcome to Glen Loth. Loth has a very different feel to it. I'm not really sure I can explain it. Every time I come up here, I can't quite put my finger on it. I mean, we're alone. We're utterly alone. But I feel like I should speak softly here. The echoes of the past are very loud. If you do come up this way, let's walk respectfully, shall we? was at a point in life where I don't think I could have done another year in a big city. I needed to get out. And they say, oh, you're taking a gamble, you're leaving the big city, job opportunities, and do you really know what you're doing? No, none of us knows what we're doing. The only thing that I knew I had to do was follow the calling of my heart, because I'm too damn old to do anything else. If you're younger than me watching this, maybe even if you're a bit older, there will come a point where you go, enough. Enough of the noise, enough of the world, enough of the traffic, enough of the people, enough of it all. And then you remember what we were really put here for, which is to try to enjoy what little time we have. For the first time in my life, I'm actually enjoying it. For the first time in my life, I wake up looking forward to the day. Now that you've seen that segment about Glen Loth, it's a perfect segue to talk about something that I think is actually quite important. Grab a cup of tea, put your feet up. This is going to be a long segment, I think, but it's pretty important. We need to talk about it. Recently, I posted a teaser short showing Glen Loth as a coming attraction for this video. And most of the comments were, as usual, just very, very glowingly positive. But there were a couple that came in where the sentiment was, hey, it's great that you live up here and that you love living up here, but stop showing it off, because you're going to attract too much attention, too many people are going to come up here, and it's going to ruin the experience. Okay, I get it. I do actually understand the sentiment behind that sort of comment. Because here's this wide-eyed Yank who doesn't know any better, and he comes up here and innocently posts, wow, look at that! And then all of a sudden you get a stampede of caravans, and it turns into the Fairy Glen on the Isle of Skye in the height of tourism season. I get it. But I think a little perspective is in order here. There is nothing that I will say or do on this channel that in any way could ever have the same kind of impact on the far north that other events which have already taken place have already had here. I mean, first off, Glen Loth isn't exactly a hidden secret. It's a hidden gem, but it's not a secret. I mean, it's directly off the NC 500. It's well marked. I mean, my car's GPS tried to route me through Glen Loth when I was coming home from up north the other day, rather than taking me through the Strath of Kildonan and Helmsdale. So if I can find something with a Google search in 5 seconds flat, that's not a hidden secret. Now, there are legitimately some locals-only secret areas up here that I've been introduced to that I will never film. Or if I do film them, I'm not going to tell anyone how to get there, because it really is locals only. So that you have my word on. But Glen Loth isn't one of them. But it does speak to a larger issue, and that's why I'm doing this segment right now. And that issue is, how remote should the far north be? Now, I know that sounds a little strange. Geographically speaking, the far north is always going to be somewhat remote. But it used to be considerably more remote than it is now. Just in the span of my lifetime, in 1982, the Keswick Bridge was built, directly linking Inverness across the Bewley Firth to the Black Isle. In 1991, the Dornoch Firth Bridge was built, connecting Easter Ross directly into Sutherland. And 10 years ago, the NC 500 was created. That's an artificial creation designed to promote more economic activity and tourism here in the far north. It's been a bit of a mixed bag. Those 3 incidents dramatically opened up the far north and did way more to bring people up here than anything I'll ever say or do on a YouTube channel. And this is important because you would expect that with that increase in infrastructure and tourism, you would expect a commensurate increase in the number of people moving up here. Except the exact opposite has happened. The far north is depopulating. Check the records. 200 years ago, Sutherland alone had twice the number of people that it has today. Now, you might think, well, that's the Highland clearances. And to be clear, the clearances throughout Scotland were horrific. They should never be forgotten or forgiven. But that doesn't change the fact that in the decades during the clearances and thereafter, the population of Sutherland went up. What eventually caused the population to start declining is the same thing that happened to rural areas all over the planet. You have local industries collapsing. In this case, it was kelp fishing, some other industries. And you have people, in some cases, literally starving back then, who left seeking better opportunities elsewhere. That trend started in the 19th century, continued through the 20th, and is still continuing today in the 21st. And that's important because I know inflation gets all the headlines, and inflation is bad. But deflation is 10 times worse. If you've never lived through a deflationary spiral, it can happen slowly and then very quickly. Just ask the people of Detroit, what's left of them. So I am trying to stop the depopulation. I don't want a massive stampede of humanity up here. I don't think anyone would want that where they live. But I also don't want the far north to slowly but surely turn into a scaled up version of the ruins of Glen Loth. Now, this brings us to a larger and more sensitive question that everyone's kind of danced around and nobody really wants to address it. But we're going to address it here and now. Who are the right people to live here in the Highlands? I'll answer that question for you. People who are willing to integrate and give more than they take. That's it. That's all it is. Are you willing to integrate into the local culture and preserve it and carry it forward? And do you give more than you take economically and from the social safety net? I'm an immigrant. These are my responsibilities. And I believe it's important for any immigrant to honor those responsibilities wherever they go. And I bring this up because I think the far north and the depopulation crisis that's happening here will slow down and stop and possibly reverse because of something that's coming. It's already starting a little bit, and it's going to accelerate. And I don't see that many people talking about it. It's the great wealth transfer. I'm Gen X, we're a small generation. Millennials are a much larger generation, and the oldest millennials are now in their mid-40s. They're going to begin inheriting money, estates, etc. from their parents. Now, some of those people are white-collar professionals who can work 100% remote. And they're going to do what I did. They're going to look around and go, well, how far can my money go? And the reality is, in the United Kingdom, if you're under the age of 40, you're basically permanently priced out of home ownership in this country. That's just the reality. Unless you inherit. That's important because in the US, half of all economic activity in that country is driven by the top 10% of the population. I'm not saying it's stable, I'm saying it's reality. And the reality here is that all you have to do is look further south at the population gains that they're seeing from inward migration, not from people like me who managed to make it from the outside world, just inward migration here in the UK, who have moved from further south into places like Morayshire and the greater Inverness area. Look at how the population numbers have climbed there and look at what it's done to real estate valuations. The same thing is coming for the far north because of the great wealth transfer. And it will be driven by two factors. One is climate change. Whether you agree with global warming or not is irrelevant. Enough people agree with it and are experiencing it firsthand, myself included, to go, the climate bands are shifting, I better move closer to the poles in order to buy myself some time and get ahead of the curve. And that feeds directly into the second factor, which is real estate pricing. The further north you go, the cheaper things get. And I understand that cheap is a very relative term here. I'm using it very loosely. But take a look at that house behind me. A 4-bedroom detached house with acreage. I paid £360,000 for it. I guarantee you, you move this anywhere further south, you might as well just slap a 1 in front of that number, at least. That's the reality. I can't afford that. Most people can't afford that. But the great wealth transfer is going to drive more people up here. And I think it's going to stabilize the population numbers. So my message to them, to anyone moving up here to the far north, is that it must be preserved. Because it is extremely unique. More so than I think you realize. The far north of Scotland, and for the purposes of this video, I'm defining the far north as Sutherland, Caithness, Shetland, Orkney, the Outer Hebrides, and possibly parts of Ross-shire, is an extremely unique area. First off, it's a climate oasis. But secondly, it's not like the rest of the United Kingdom. Heck, it's not even like the rest of Scotland. The Romans never penetrated this far north. The Anglo-Saxons never penetrated this far north. The historic heritage of the far north is Pictish, Gaelic, and Nordic. I mean, keep in mind, Orkney and Shetland used to be part of the Kingdom of Norway until 1472. And Sutherland is called Sutherland because to the Vikings, it was the southern land. So it's a very different heritage up here, and it's an extremely unique fusion of northwestern European cultures that I haven't found anywhere else in the world. You know, some of you have asked in the comments, do I have Scottish descent myself? Yeah, I do. And I also have a Norwegian surname. As a result, this place, the far north, is very appealing to me on multiple levels. It's my home. And I want to see this delicate fusion of northwestern cultures preserved in this area. That matters to me, because when it's gone forever. And so anyone who moves up here, I really want to drive home the point that yes, it's wonderful, yes, it's magical, and yes, you have a responsibility as an immigrant to integrate and preserve it and give back and carry it forward. When I was a kid, I used to read books about Middle-earth, Narnia. I'd watch fantasy movies, I'd play escapist video games, Myst, Ultima, Dragon Age. I guess I was just, I don't know, looking for some bit of escapism. I think that what I kept quiet was in the back of my mind. I hoped that somehow, if I just focused hard enough, the image that I saw in my mind's eye would come true. I'd stumble into an ancient circle of stones when the moon and the stars are aligned just right, and a magic moon gate would open up and whisk me away to some distant fantasy land. Crazy, isn't it? Crazy, isn't it? The world will do everything it can to beat that dream out of you. The world is wrong. Hold on to that dream. The price tag is high. The price tag for your new life is your old life. But Fantasyland is real. And as Joe Straczynski once wrote, there can always be new beginnings, even for people like us. My name is Jason. I'm a former drug addict, a former alcoholic. I battle demons that shout at me every day. And I'm building a new life here in Fantasyland, in the Scottish Highlands. And it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. Until next time. Thanks for watching The American Highlander. Take care.